It's space weather, and it'll never be now again. We got a sunspot. It's a real sunspot. There's some polarity shifting going on. We've got a coronal hole about to be in the Earth-facing region, which is already magnetically connected. Here's a view in 304 angstroms. We've got some filamentary activity. We even had some coronal mass ejections. We'll get into it. Here are your magnetic lines. I would note the magnetic complexity associated with that sunspot, the plage region that is trailing it, and the cavernous coronal hole. Jaws says, look at the real-time solar wind. So that's what we're going to do. All right. The BTBZ is fairly stable here. We've got a phi angle right around the middle of the road there. Looks like right now it's around, 200. And we do see kind of an ongoing connection there, a signal in the phi angle associated with that coronal hole that's about to be facing Earth. Solar wind density 5.61 protons per cubic centimeter. And the solar wind speed continues to diminish, now down to 432 kilometers per second. And let's look at some more data at spaceweathernews.com. X-ray flux has returned to a flatline state after a series of B-class flares and a C-class flare yesterday, which caused us to do a third video. Here's a clip. There's a C-class flare. And here are some close-ups of it from our video yesterday. We will leave links to this if you'd like to get the close-up images. Here we see it 94 angstroms. Go back to spaceweathernews.com. Magnetometer has moved into a more smooth sort of a pattern here. We are looking for an uptick, probably less than 150 nanotesla, coming in the next 2 days because of a more magnetically direct region to the corona. KP index is back down to 1. Here's your Cygnets forecast. That's through January 30th. Electron flux still quite high. Looks like no charging hazards. And the F2 layer is anomalous down in this region. Surprising amount of charge down there. Let's refresh that. Let's look at that directly, actually. Yeah, surprising amount of charge down here. I mean, let's face it, folks, the sun is way up here. And normally we see that charge following the sun. So, moving on. We did see some ejecta on the LASCO C2. Let's let that play through. First you'll see a small CME on the east, which just happened. And next you'll see quite a large CME on the east, not Earth-facing. Here it comes. There goes the corona exploding off into space. Moving on. Now here's the last frame in the Gong 2. What I'm talking about for the magnetometer is this region right here, where the lines are straighter and more divided. That indicates a more direct connection. But it's going to take a few days for the Earth to pass through these bunched up connections here. Now those could change at any moment because the magnetic situation can change without any warning. Let's let that play through so you can see what's going on magnetically speaking. You see the crossing of the heliospheric current sheet. And a lot of magnetic complexity going on in this area. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Let's look at geospace. Here are some magnetosphere movies for you. First of all, the velocity. Now, we do include these every day because part of our mission here is data gathering. And it's a lot easier for us to just go back and look at our own videos every day to find out if there was something that we missed while looking at the data. Here's the density. And so another reason that we make these videos is to summarize all this data for people so they can just watch the video instead of going to all these sources. If you've got bandwidth problems, you're more likely to be able to view the videos on YouTube than you are to see all of these sites. And that's part of the reason why we do what we do. There's your pressure. Next, we'll look at geospace magnetic perturbations. First, over the poles. And we're seeing magnetic bleed into the Indian Ocean as we have. The main reason why we look at this is because of the pole shift situation. The polar excursion, pole flip, whatever you want to call it. Just to include this data from University of Michigan Geospace Model V1.5. Next, we've got a 4.5 magnitude earthquake off of Oregon, and a bunch of other stuff. Let's go back 12 hours. Fiji has experienced a 6.2 and a 5.2, both around 600 kilometers depth. Now, that's exactly in the area where we warned for yesterday, although we're still in a 7+ magnitude drought. So these places stay on alert. That is a very deep quake, and deep quakes lead to stronger quakes at the surface. Chile a 4.1, Japan a 4.9, Vanuatu a 4.8. So we're still waiting for that 7+ magnitude quake, people. Greece, which happens to be the antipode of Fiji, got a 4.4. Russia a 4.5. Another 600 kilometer deep quake around Fiji. No shortage there. There's Fiji and Tonga. 4.2 in Turkey, a 4.5 off the coast of Oregon. Show you where that one's located. .8 in Japan, 4.8 in Indonesia, 4.7 in India. Haven't been seeing any activity there. 4.7 in Mexico, 4.7 in Fiji Islands again, 5.1 in the Philippines, and a 4.4 at Fiji. So I would say this region of the world is the top choice for a 7+ magnitude earthquake. Let's look at the low pressures on Tropical Tidbits. For those of you who are familiar with earthquake forecasting, one of the new techniques pioneered by Ben Davidson is that we look for deep quakes and then we look for anomalous low pressure zones. So let's see what we can see here on Tropical Tidbits. Do we still see low pressures making a 90-degree turn? Yeah, we pretty much do. I draw your attention to this area, right by where all those deep quakes are happening. You're going to see low pressure systems making a 90-degree turn like this, following the plate boundary. That's not a good sign if you're in Fiji, New Zealand, Tonga area. The other spots to be concerned with would be Western South America. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we got a 7+ magnitude in the Fiji region. Holy crow, do we have a lot of tabs open. We got to pick up the pace here. Looking at volcanoes today, we got Shivaluch. A little uptick there, producing a 20,000-foot ash plume. Tukono, continuous volcanic emissions to a 6,000-foot plume. Sabancaya, 24,000-foot plume. Planchon Pitaroa, weak emissions and a 15,000-foot plume. Barren Island, 3,000-foot volcanic emissions have ceased. Also, it looks like explosive activity has decreased at Etna. Man, oh man, we got a lot of tabs open. Let's go to AccuWeather.com, give you an idea of the U.S. national radar situation. Got some what looks like lake effect snow there in the northeast, western Pennsylvania, Ohio, western New York, and some heavy storms on Florida coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, and some mixed weather around the Dakotas. Next, let's look at the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite here, the water vapor map. Give you an idea of what's going on the upper level. We've got some pretty odd-looking convergence lines coming down here, and some dry air, a dry air nexus over western Mexico. So, jet stream is coming way down like this right now, and it's going to slowly shift its way to the east, creating some frigid cold in the central U.S. And when it shifts to the east, frigid cold in the northeast. Record breakers possibly. Now we've seen a cosmic ray downtick. Not surprising because solar activity has increased. Obviously, we have a sunspot, and it's a decent sunspot. There you can see the downtick at Athens. Mexico, small downtick in cosmic ray flux there as well. Moscow with a significant downtick. Also Oulu. Kind of the same situation there. Now keep in mind, cosmic ray flux levels are still high, just not as high as they've been. There's DOMC, which is showing a large range. And here's DOMB, which is showing a downtick in the last couple days as well. Next, banned cars in Florida. Zero Hedge article. We will leave links, by the way. U.S. pedestrian deaths soar in last decade in Florida. And it's not because of more people walking. It's probably because of more people texting. So if you're out there driving, don't be a hack. Put your phone away. Pay attention to driving. And save a life. Here's another Zero Hedge article. What's going on in Texas? Turns out 58,000 non-citizens voted in state elections, and 95,000 are registered. So yeah, voter fraud going on. We will leave links to that also. Next, I got an idea. The government boosts the economy, right? All you got to do is dig that ditch, refill it, and the government's going to pay you for it, right? Well, not really. The idea that higher taxes are good for the economy is equivalent to you attempting to fill your swimming pool by pulling water out of the deep end and pouring it into the shallow end. Links to this article also. Finally, here's your C-class X-ray flare. How about one more time? Now, one other note about that sunspot. Let's look at a high-res image here of the magnetogram. Now, the sunspot is actually looking like it's going to increase in activity because of this leading field right here. Now, if that field becomes as big as the field that it's interacting with right here, that's going to become a reverse polarity sunspot. So, it's a normal polarity sunspot right now. If this was south of the equator, it would already be a reverse polarity sunspot. However, this is a cycle 24 sunspot so far, so we're going to be keeping a close eye on this because if the field switches, you could be watching cycle 25 begin before your very eyes. Let's look at it all close up. Sunspot 2733. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to videos if you enjoy the content. Share on our social media. We do have a Patreon. We do have a PayPal. If you feel like paying us for our work, feel free. We would appreciate it. Also, if you have ideas for a 900 subscriber special, let us know. As we approach 900 and indeed 1,000 subscribers. And remember, when you're staring at sunspots, don't drink. And if you drink, don't drive. And definitely don't text and drive. And, well, just do yourself a favor. Don't drive. Cheers.